to the Biz Podcast, where we cover everything business, innovation, and tech. My name is Brandon.
Hello, my name is Sean.
And Sean, I think we got a great guest today. You want to go ahead and introduce him for us?
So today's guest is someone who lives at that intersection of tech, creativity, and purpose. He's Felix, and he's a product manager by day. And he's navigating that tough, fast-paced world of tech and innovation. You know how we do.
Yes, sir.
And by night, he's building something deeply personal. He made his own brand, and he has a bold message to go along with it. Optimizing life so you can do what you love. Felix's journey is a powerful example of how today's creators are not waiting for perfect conditions. They're building their legacies brick by brick, whether it's through tech or textiles. His mission is about more than just fashion. It's about living with intention, making smart choices, and designing a life around passion and purpose. We'll dive into his story, the challenges of balancing a career with entrepreneurship, and what it means to build something that lasts. Felix, welcome to the show.
Thanks,
How you doing,
guys.
Felix?
Yeah, really happy to be here. Excited. Let's go.
Happy to have you, man. Really curious, what really inspired you to start your own brand, and how'd you come up with that core message, that optimizing life so you can do what you love?
Yeah, it actually came from my last job when I was working remote. I was working East Coast hours, and I was waking up at like 3, 4 a.m. sometimes when shit hits the fan, your engineers are kind of clawing at you, you kind of get up, and so it's cold and stuff like that. And I feel like I didn't really have clothing, like a jacket was too thick, but a shirt was too thin. And so I kind of realized there was a little bit of a niche of people who kind of get up early in the morning, who kind of just want to wear something more comfortable. And that's kind of like that's where I started to look for clothing, and I couldn't find anything. So me and my girlfriend, we actually went to a textile conference, and that's kind of what started it all. Started talking to a lot of suppliers. There was a specific brand that I really liked, and I talked to them some more. And then I realized that this is kind of something that I wanted to do and take on. And it's in textiles. It's something very different from what I'm used to. And so I started building products and products, clothing and stuff like that, that really optimized my life. And I hope that it optimized other people's lives too. And it's also going off of things that I've found in my life that have been really helpful. And so kind of going it all. Yeah. And that's pretty much the inspiration, just really finding clothing that really you can wear all the time to optimize your life, but also be comfortable. So you don't really have to think about that. So you can focus on kind of what's important, like, building business or doing other things.
I like that. Where are you located?
I'm located in the Bay Area. I hop between the Bay and LA. LA, just because there's so much
Yeah.
fashion, a lot of things that do there. And then also in the Bay Area because I do work here too. So I work in tech.
Oh, you
Surprise.
work in, that's a good question. I was going to go to that too, but I just, because what you said earlier about kind of like waking up early in the morning and not being comfortable in really anything. It's crazy because that's exactly what San Francisco or LA weather is. You wake up at like 5 a.m. and it's cold as hell, and you're just like, what the heck? Because by noon, it jumps 20 degrees, and you're just. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no one likes getting up and actually working out or like going out at 5 a.m. in LA because the weather's about to change drastically. So I completely get that. And if you serve that, I think you're headed in the right track. So, but yeah, you mentioned you're in tech as well. So like, is this what you're doing on the side, or is this going to become kind of? I guess, are you treating it like a passion project that will become full time? As you want to. Kind of transcend into your own entrepreneur, or is this always going to be something that you do on the side while you still continue your ventures on the tech side or your employment on the tech side?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I'll leave it up to the future, to be honest. It's right now something that I love to do, but I also love product management. I think at some point my vision has always been to kind of own a company, whether that's in textile or kind of building a product. I think that, regardless of what, it's kind of following that message of kind of wearing the clothes to optimize your life to do what you want to do. And that's kind of what I'm doing, whether that's kind of building a business in tech or kind of the textile, startup too. So I think both, it's applicable to both. Do I think it would take over my tech side? I honestly don't think so, to be honest. I think I would want to gather a team, and kind of like work on the passion project as well, because I think I do have some ideas in tech that I do want to start as well. So I really don't think it's ever going to take over my life, but I think with these first couple parts, it has kind of taken over my life a little bit too, right? Because, even me and, the couple friends that I have that we're doing this together, it's still a lot of work for just a couple people. Ideally, I would want to fall more of the design and implementation, because that's kind of where my heart and soul is, and a little bit of business as well. But I also come from a place of supply chain as well. I have a lot of experience in supply chain, so I know how messy it is and things like that too. So there's a lot of different components that I feel like at the end of the day, I would like to, if I was given the opportunity, I think an advisory role would be good if I was to start my tech side products as well. So
Well, that's a lot going on. How do you
I
find
know.
room to juggle all that with a blossoming career in tech and then your passion product on the side?
Yeah, I actually have like a notebook that I write like, things to
Nice.
do every day. It's just like a list of personal, and then the 1%, so the business, the textile business, and then like my job, like everything. I write everything down in the morning, and it's kind of like a Bible that I swear by every day. I don't get through everything, of course, but I feel like it also takes notes. I also do a yearly plan as well. So I have an Excel sheet that breaks down what my goals are for the year, breaks it down by quarter, by month, and then kind of by week. It kind of sets the pace for the week, and I don't always hit it. I feel like you kind of have to give yourself some grace, because when you have so many things to do, you're human. You want to have
Hmm.
fun too. But it kind of gets me in the correct route of where I think I can go, and it gives me kind of measurable results of even like monthly or quarterly. You can see like, oh, these are the things I wanted to do this year, but then because of X, Y, Z, I wasn't able to do that. Why is that? And it's kind of like a process. You kind of like metamorphosis, right? You kind of like slowly doing the things and figuring out the best way to optimize your life. Because I know I'm not going to hit everything, but like, let's see how much we can hit to kind of like stay on the course.
Can you
Nice.
just give
And
us like a little bit of a window into what you do on the tech side? Because I was lurking a little bit on your LinkedIn, and I see you got a lot of product managers and senior product manager, right? Or if I don't know, correct me if I'm getting this wrong, but and now it looks like on your LinkedIn you're a product manager at Apple. So just curious, like what led you on the tech side specifically? Because I think I kind of have questions about both. Your endeavor with the clothing brand, and then also what you're doing on the tech side, and then kind of how they intersect. But yeah, could you just kind of like walk me through like a quick background on the tech side for you?
Yeah, funny enough, so I went to school at Cal Poly Slow for agricultural business. At the time of when I first went to college, they were like, ag biz is pretty much business majors, but instead of suits and ties, you have fruits and vegetables. So I was like, and I like country music at the time too, so I was like, I grew up in the Bay Area. This is something super new, and I'm someone that always likes to learn new things. So I was like, let's try it out. And so for 4 years, I did agricultural business. My last year, or my last summer, I actually got an internship at Western Digital as a PM intern. And so I interned there, and I really liked what PMs do, and I read more and more into it. And then that's where I kind of started my career in product management. Right out of college, COVID hit. I was unemployed for maybe about 10 months. And I think that's sometimes short for considering, a fresh grad. Went to product management at Supermicro. At the time of, it was a relatively not as well-known company until now, because AI has been like exploding. So Supermicro is like a huge name now. Worked there as a product manager for 2 years. Managed, supply chain mainly. And that kind of gave me a lot of like program management, supply chain, and other things like that. But I realized my heart was still like in design and in tech. And so I pivoted over to Catalina, where I was the product owner, of two teams. Like it was more so around advertising and then like a data platform that we had, and then did about 2 years there. And I think that that's where I really worked with engineers, design architects, and also just me just designing different platforms and how they would look. And I realized like I really enjoy design. And that was also the time where I started to realize like I really like design, and that's also where I started to wake up at like 4 a.m. to work with, not just East Coast hours, but we had a lot of engineers overseas. And so,
Mhm.
their 6 p.m. or 5 p.m. is my 6 a.m. And that's when we have like stand up. And then, when we're launching a product, they're going to do it during their time when they're working. So I'm up at like 4 or 3 a.m. just making sure everything goes well.
Mhm.
If something
Mhm.
doesn't go well, which it's a very rare case, but when something doesn't happen by 5 a.m., I figure out what's wrong. By 6 a.m., I'm already talking to product managers like, hey, this is what's wrong. Here's how we're going to solve it. And then later in the day, or the day after, we kind of launch the kind of fix, and then everything's fixed. So, because of waking up so early, that's kind of why I started this brand. And I actually really like it because working East Coast hours, their 5 p.m. is like our like 3 p.m. or 2 p.m. And so I'm done and I can go to the gym before the rush hour hits, and I can
Mhm.
be home. And then also I'm going to bed at like 10 p.m., which honestly isn't great for social, like,
Yeah,
sociability, but like for a health and fitness standpoint,
it's
fantastic. Like,
fantastic. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. Really enjoyed my time there. Met amazing people, super smart people too. Um, and then, last year around July, company was going through a lot of changes, so got laid off. And then, so, started to hang out, like traveled, and then recently found a job at Apple this year, and then kind of been doing that. So that Apple's been awesome, actually. I think like Apple, like 3 days in office, 2 days out of office. My manager's really chill too. I feel like I'm like learning a lot. I'm in the I'm in the legal side of Apple. So I
Oh.
work with a lot of yeah, it's unique, right? You think of Apple as in like iPhones, AirPods, and stuff like that, but I'm
Mhm.
actually on the legal side where I kind of help when legal. There's a lot of different processes when it comes to legal, and so I help build products to make their lives a lot easier. And
Mm.
so I work with third-party partners. I work with internal engineers, design and all that. And so we kind of just streamline different products to make, the legal process a lot easier. Because, as Apple is such a big company, everyone's trying to get a little piece of the pie, right? So Apple has to defend itself, or, whatever legal does, or whatever, comes legal's way. And so part of what I do is to help build tools to, help the legal team defend themselves, or vice versa. Maybe not defend themselves, but try to uncover as much evidence as possible, I guess you could say, is a
Mm.
better way to put it. Yeah.
So you're
And
building
so,
or developing a tool you're developing a tool like an internal tool that they can use on the legal side to help kind of or did I get that wrong?
yeah, I mean, there's just so many different avenues we can go down, because we have a lot of third-party partners that we use. There are different tools that we would use in order to kind of extract data or kind of like freeze data, right? We don't want everyone to be deleting their data, right? So it's like, how do we kind of like keep all the data, make sure that it's intact, make sure that no one's like messing with it, and then how do we kind of pull that data if it needs to be used in court, for example, or things like that. Just very like niche things, and some, like, not all companies, they want to have like a third party because Apple is so big. Like, what they might want to develop their own tools and stuff like that. So kind of I help kind of build tools to, you know, make legals teams like a lot easier. A lot more
Like,
smooth sailing, and try to uncover as much data, because right now it's data's kind of, it's exploding with the amount of different things that happen. In a file, for example, if you want to find information, then you got to like figure out how you to find that information. You got to parse it, then you got to make sure that the time is accurate, make sure like, it's the version number is correct, because what if this one came out before, the expected date or stuff like that, and just trying to make it as accurate as possible. So there's a lot of avenues that you can go down, and for me, this is just one of them. My manager deals with a lot more, and there's a lot of other teams too. But yeah, so that's kind of what I'm, doing right now. I feel like I've jumped around. I started in supply chain and hardware and servers, right? You have like AMD, Seagate, Western Digital, and all that jazz. And then I moved over to ad tech and, an ad platform at Catalina. And now I'm in legal. So,
A lot of jumps, yeah.
uh,
Getting a full rundown
yeah,
there.
A lot of
yeah.
jumps. Yeah.
So just trying to, again, I'm someone that loves to keep on learning and try to learn as much as I can. And so,
Is it fun?
you're kind
Is
of,
it fun?
is it fun?
Yeah, I mean, just because from the supply chain to the ads, is like to me, legal would probably be the least. I don't know. That's why the least fun for me. I don't know. I guess that's why I'm asking, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I would say it's interesting. Fun, I think, comes in the work you do. For example, right now, where I get to, if like let me think about this. So, for example, right, in the past and even now, I am kind of building wireframes or UIs for how people would interact with the data, right? And that kind of brings out the creative juices, right?
creative,
Because I
right?
get to figure out like, oh, this is the platform that everyone's going to look at, and this is what it's going to look like, and this is how it's going to operate. And so, I think that's fun because it's like, wow, I'm actually building something that someone's actually going to
Yeah.
touch and use, and XYZ, and the things that we roll out may affect up to like all the Apple employees.
Mm,
Like there are
mm,
things that we do, and there's things that we may push out that may affect everyone at Apple just because there's new standards that are enforced, and so I get to be a part of that. Um,
mm.
and just things like that. I feel like, is it interesting? Yeah, it's interesting because I never thought I'd really be in like, law solutions. But then the fun is kind of like, doing the little things. Yeah, there's like not as fun things like SQL and having to write queries and stuff like that, but seeing it in action, and then kind of like an engineer, when your code works, it's like a moment where it's like, wow, like all the hard work I put in, it actually works, and everything checks out XYZ, and then so like you have people depending on you or depending on whatever. So um I think, is it fun? Yeah, I would say it's fun, but there's also like more mundane things, which is fine, so I mean it's all about the work.
With
So
yeah, it's going to be with everything. Absolutely. Yeah. Well,
yeah,
that makes a lot of
yeah.
sense. Like, where does the future lead you to? Does it lead you in the direction of kind of where you're going now, and do you see yourself maybe being a startup owner of a tech company, or does this direction for the clothing line kind of take you down a different path where you're more creative and you're dealing with this textiles and you're creating a huge brand? Like, where ultimately do you see yourself? And what path do you, or maybe it's both, right? Who knows? You could be doing this both for forever, right? But like, I'm just curious if you have a plan, if you have a 10-year plan of which one you'd like to invest more time in.
Yeah, I think the 1% has given me a lot of different opportunities. It's not really just building a business, but I think it's also doing a lot of things with friends and connecting with a lot of different people. For example, because I'm building the business, I, like, um, how often do you get to go do a photo shoot with your friends, right? Like, I feel like most people haven't done that, and like I think it's a really unique experience, and right now I'm kind of like living in the moment and doing as much as I can for the brand, right? And trying to grow it as much as I can, and so it's also kind of like an excuse to go do fun things with your friends, and like bring people along your journey too. For example, like I'm gonna go to the dunes with my friends in maybe a month or two, and we're gonna go do a photo shoot there with the clothing. I have friends at the gym who I get to do photo shoots there, and they get to be a part of this journey of mine where I'm trying to kind of just prop everyone up, and everyone gets to like experience something a little bit more unique, whether maybe in the future we get to go traveling or, even host events and things like that. I think it's a really unique experience right now, and to grow the brand. I think at some point I would need to expand to onboard people. I think that this is a stepping stone into a tech business that I would want to build, in all honesty. And so
Mm.
that's why I say I would want to sit in an advisory role, because it still is kind of like my baby, right? It's still something that I'm going to grow from the ground up, but at some point I'm going to want to kind of dive back into tech, and I want this, company to prosper in XYZ. I'm sure it's going to be in good hands at that time but I think that on top of the money, that if it is a lot, like, I guess if it is high revenue generating, I would want to leverage the revenue to actually invest in people to help me build a product too. Because even as a product manager, I don't have all hands on deck. I have friends who are engineers as well, but they can only do so much, for example. And so if I want to build a program that I'm looking at, then I think I would have to have more hands. On top of that, AI is changing a lot of things and how we think and how we design and build products. And so who knows, maybe in 5 years, I won't need anyone to build the product that I'm trying to build. The product that I'm trying to actually build is in ed tech, but like in educational technology. But in 5 years, who knows where education is going to be with regards to AI. AI is learning so much. College students are, using ChatGPT to answer questions, to unfortunately cheat sometimes, right? So we don't know where education's going to be in 5 years. So I think right now, textile is probably the more safe route to kind of invest in and go with, there. And, if that truly takes off, and for example, the education technology that I'm expecting to build is obsolete, then yeah, I'll go textile. Like I love it too, right? I think it's always been fun, but I think my heart and soul will still always be in software at the end of the day.
Mm.
Hey
Mm.
Felix,
That's very
it's cool that you're helping your friends like be along this ride with you, and it seems like the growth that you're experiencing right now is like it's been very organic. And yeah, textiles isn't necessarily the sexiest of industries. And if I were to go and tell my family like, hey man, I'm just gonna switch over to textiles, there's gonna be some eyebrows raising. So what's been the support like? Just talking to your friends and family, like, hey, this is what I'm pursuing right now. I know there's challenges. Just how's been that support, and how have you felt about it?
Yeah, I think with the Asian side of me, or having like Asian background, my parents, if I was just say, hey, I'm gonna jump ship and I'm just gonna do textile, I think they'd be scratching their heads too. But I feel like because I have a pretty decent, full-time job and stuff like that, I can put their minds to rest. And this, again, they probably see it as like a passion project of mine. And, as my dad is also kind of like an entrepreneur, he had like a telecom startup in India as well. So he
Wow.
understands like, you people most likely want to do things other than kind of their full-time jobs, right? People have passions, people have other things that they want to pursue. And so me kind of pursuing this is, you know, sounds good to him, as long as, as I feel like as long as his kid is comfortable and happy and, is progressing in life, I think that that's, at least for my parents, what they would want, right? Or most parents would want that. With the support of friends, I think my friends have been really like excited because again, they get to join the journey too. They get to kind of wear these really comfortable clothing that you don't see on the market generally, right? And sometimes they get free stuff, especially for like marketing or stuff like that. A lot of the times a lot of things are whatchamacallit are subsidized, I guess you could call it.
Mhm.
If I'm gonna take you guys out to go, dooning in like San Luis Obispo, then part of it's going to be subsidized. So you get to go on this really fun event when part of your expenses are subsidized, and you get to hang out with your friends, and you get to be in like photos and things like that. you know, I think it's like fun for everyone. Sometimes I can be annoying because I'll be like, hey, I'm going to bring my stuff over to the party that you're going to have and I'm going to try to sell. You know, but for the most part, they're pretty okay with it, you know. And yeah, I think it's just kind of neat to, you know, see someone do something different. I think when my friends are starting businesses too, I always pay the full price, just because I want to support the business. I understand the struggle, like how
Mm-hmm.
hard it is to kind of get off, get off your feet and stuff like that. So it's not an easy task. It's even harder to even start, right? Because everything that I'm buying, whether it's the trademark signs, or it's the product from China, or uh, the 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 canopy that I buy, everything's coming out of my own pocket, right? And so people see that and they kind of like want to support. So it's been fun. It's been fun.
Good to hear, man. Good to hear all that positivity as well. Kind of really helps move things along, especially when you hit those like rough patches, and we all do in these endeavors. So good to see that support system around you.
Yeah, I actually told my good friends this, as someone who is kind of more so doing this alone, especially like the first couple parts. So I have two really, really good friends, and they are both what you could call hype beasts. So they wear like a lot of like expensive clothing or niche clothing, and one of them loves wearing like high-end brands like Louis Vuitton and stuff like that. But then I catch them wearing my stuff, and
Nice.
um, and they actually wear often, actually, which is, and I tell them, as someone who is going through, building this company completely alone, no one's telling me I'm doing it right. I don't know if I'm doing it right, but I'm just going at it. When you guys wear my stuff, it really gives me that motivation to kind of keep on pushing forward, because out of everything in your closet, you choose to wear my stuff, right? You choose to wear my stuff outside to show your friends or XYZ. When you have like Louis Vuitton, Supreme, or a bunch of other clothing, that have a way better, or way bigger name, and I know it doesn't mean much to you guys, but to me, as someone who, put their heart and soul to, take months to kind of get this stuff shipped from XYZ, or when it's made, in house or whatever, it's like it takes so much time and effort. And when you guys wear that, it really makes me happy. So it's like these little things that I feel like we do that kind of make me feel hopeful and kind of keep on going, pretty much, because there are dark times. There are times where I'm going to buy this product, and I'm going to be like, I don't even know if my design or whatever is going to stick with the general population, but like this is like me, and I'm going to do it, and let's see what happens. So
That's awesome, man. To help stoke the fires, I was helping my dad at his shop, and I was rocking one of the hats he gave me. And one of the customers comes in, and he's just waiting for his order, and then he starts chopping up with me, and he goes like, "Hey, building legacies, what's that all about?" And then I shared your story, and then he made the connection that I'm here helping my dad out for a few minutes, and he saw a building legacies hat, and I was like, and then his eyes sparkled. He's like, "Hey, that's great messaging. Really love your friend. Hope he does well." So hey, your message is it's slowly reaching people, man. It's good to
thanks.
see that.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the clothing I build, they always have like some meaning or reason behind it, right? For example, the thicker shirts are really meant for the morning, but then I have this shirt that I'm actually wearing. It says the 1% right here on the right side. And the point of that is when you are greeting someone, you usually go and shake with your right hand. And so when you're leaning in, people see that symbol right there. And it's kind of like a conversation starter, if you will. And also the shirt that I'm wearing right now, it's not just like a normal shirt, but I chose it specifically because it's a little bit longer in the torso area. So as someone who is 6 foot, I will wear like large clothing, or like, size large, but then it's a little short for me. And then so I got this shirt because it's a little bit longer. So it's catered a little bit more towards tall people. Of course, like, normal people can wear it too. But it's like little things like that, which like
No, what
make
you saying? I'm
make
short.
me
Can I ask
happy.
this foot? Normal.
No, no, no. I'm
No,
just saying, like, I feel like
no, I'm
just like
playing.
for
Go
taller
ahead.
guys, because like I know
Yeah.
how hard it is to find clothing that, like, is kind of tight, but also like fits you like, height wise. And so I
Mm,
struggle with that a lot because I always have to wear extra large, but then it's sometimes too, like, it's not always the look I want. Like, baggy isn't always the look I want. But then my large shirts like barely fit. If I raise my hand, my stomach's showing. So
Hmm.
it's like, it's kind of that good balance in between. And so kind of everything, every shirt, or like I have other clothing that's more like airy because as someone who loves to go to the gym, a pump cover, love that stuff, but a lot
yep.
of the times, it's not super like breathable, but then, the shirt that for a pump cover, it's great for a pump cover. So everything kind of has like its own job, I guess you could say, or kind of like expectation, but I mean, you can wear it whenever. It really doesn't matter. But yeah, that's kind of like where it comes from. Like everything I want to build or design always has like that unique, like, like job that it kind of does.
It's very, very
Mm,
thoughtful but flexible.
yeah, put a lot of
Yeah.
thought behind a lot of it. It
Yeah, man.
sounds like, yeah. I guess to leave it like for advice, if you would leave on, like advice for a young entrepreneur who might want to get in the same business, start their own clothing line, get into textiles, even if it's on the tech side, what would you like? What lessons learned would you share? What would you wish you had known before you started? That you little piece of information or nugget you can share with some young budding entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Learn as much as you can and try to find a mentor. I think as someone who had never had a mentor, I hit a lot of roadblocks, a lot of bumps along the way, that I feel like you could mitigate if you find like kind of like the right connections and stuff like that. I think for me, I'm someone who really just kind of goes headstrong, and then when shit hits the fan, you figure a way out, right? But I think to a degree, there's a lot of things that you could avoid, when you do find a mentor, or the right connections and things like that. I'll give an example. When I was first trying to find a printer in LA, having the blanks and stuff like that, I didn't know too much about the business either, but I knew what I wanted to do. Found a printer, but then the quality was just really, really bad. And so you kind of like learn from these small things, and then you have to be really headstrong with the quality that you want to, because I think a lot of people, if they know that you're new to the game, they will try to, try to make it cheap, try to make it as fast as you can. But if you really do care about quality, you do have to be headstrong about it and just try to find a mentor who will kind of guide you in the right direction.
And mentors, like I completely agree. And then like also towards more along the business aspect of it. Like I mean, I have friends who quite a few actually who've tried to start their own brands, and I'm completely ignorant to like how I could help them market or how I could help them reach a broader audience. So do you have any advice there, or just if you wanted to just briefly talk about how you do it yourself? I mean, do you have I mean, is it a social media presence that you normally utilize, or how do you, but besides just your immediate circle or your friends that you've attested to that definitely support you in just branching out and bringing in that new business, what are your kind of go-tos as far as getting the word out and making people more aware of your brand?
Yeah, so far most of it is just word of mouth. It's like friends of friends, like friends and the family and stuff like that. And that in itself has actually been doing quite well. Um, and so what I realize is me and my friends are actually starting to work on TikTok. And just I've been talking to a couple of friends, and they kind of tell me how easy it is to kind of like buy things on TikTok and stuff like that, right? I think it's like 2 clicks away. And yeah, that could boost sales. And so I'm starting to work on that. I think the harder part is not to post on TikTok. I think it's more so of making content and like quality
Mm-hmm.
content. I
Mm-hmm.
see a lot of it on TikTok. A lot of people are making like, the same thing, but like their own style over and over and over again. And I'm trying to do something different, but maybe that's not the right way. I'm still trying to figure that out myself, to be honest. I'm trying to find my own path, trying to find my own niche in TikTok, and maybe or maybe not that might or might not work. Right now, I'm actually working with a friend. He actually runs a food content, on TikTok and on Instagram and stuff like that. And he's actually teaching me how he edits videos and things like that on CapCut and stuff like that. So it's a learning process, trying to figure out what he does, how he does it, and then maybe utilize those skills over to kind of translating over to my business as well. I think every day is kind of like a learning day. I'm probably going to go over this weekend to kind of talk to him more about, figuring it out. I'm literally kind of working for free where I'm helping him edit some of his videos, but like it's kind of like a learning process, right? It's like, I'm helping him edit his videos, but he's going to show me how I can perfect it, and then kind of getting those skills and then kind of applying it to my, line of work too. So,
Nice.
honestly, I don't know. I'm still figuring it out, to be honest. Like, I'm gonna be real. So that's kind of like where
No,
I'm
it's
at right
awesome.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's awesome. Taking the natural steps, and you were talking about mentors right before. It seems like as you're going through your journey, like each person you meet, they have something to like share and like impart.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. It's just putting in that work, right?
Yep.
Got to do it. Got to do it. Well, yeah, Felix, I really appreciate you for joining us today, man. That was really insightful. I appreciate you for sharing and being open. Thank you so much. Please, can you share where people can find you, where they can support your brand, your stuff? Where should they go look you up?
Yeah. My website is called the 1% Clo, so CLO. .com, and that's kind of like where my Shopify is, and you guys can go buy stuff there. You guys can follow me on TikTok. This is actually, like I said, this is something that I'm trying to do. We
We're gonna
have
get your
the
followers up with
1%.
our 2 viewers. Don't worry.
Yeah. It's the 1%.LA, and then I also have the 1%.raw. .LA was more so the idea of it's more of like a corporate facing one where it's like, it's kind of like the finalized kind of edits videos that we want to do. .raw is actually more of the raw footage. So that's like more so of my life with the company. So for example, right, I'm going to post a video about me learning how to sew and stuff like that, or get better at sewing. I went to a friend's aunt's house, and she taught me how to better sew because I had questions about how to sew and stuff like that. Like I said, I do a lot of stuff in house too. So I'll be doing sewing and learning how to sew better. And so she went to fashion school. She did a lot of sewing, and she's just showing me some techniques. And that's just like stuff that will go on .raw, or like the behind the scenes of the photo shoot that we had. That's going to be on .raw, but the photo shoot itself, the videos and stuff like that will be on .la. So two different ways to whatever content that you want. One's more personalized, the other one's just sometimes cooler, because it's finalized. So but yeah. And then what's coming out next is I recently just got some shorts. And so I'm actually wearing them right now, but I don't know if I should stand up or not. This might not be appropriate. Let me go grab some from the. So these for me, they're really like boxing shorts, or for me, I run in them. And then they have like a little back pocket right here. It says the 1%. It has like a little pocket here so you can put your phone and stuff like that in there. And then over here, it says on the side, this is the best part of life. Because I think going with, doing what you love and stuff like that, I feel like when you're out, when you're exercising and stuff like that, like this honestly is the best part of life. Like you are in life and you're enjoying it, and, you have free time to, do what you love. And so I feel like, when you're building a legacy, when you're optimizing your life, you get to do all the things that you love to do. And, that's kind of part of the message. So.
Beautiful
Amen,
message.
man. Beautiful message. I love it. And yeah, you guys go support. I'm definitely gonna go buy a couple things. I need some work outfits. I'm wearing the same thing over and over again. So you're actually helping me style my wardrobe out a little bit. So I look forward to going to get some stuff. And yeah, again, Felix, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you guys for joining us here on another episode of Bits. Until next time, we'll see you guys later.
Until next time. Thanks, Felix.